I'm not going to talk tonight. You're going to have to carry everything. Just so you know.
What one is that?
What's that?
I said, what one is that?
Well, I'll tell the story, but... You got to carry it.
Is that you watching?
Yeah. At least I cracked myself up. That's alright. Ready to go?
Yeah.
Alright.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dirty Shore Underground with Rob. We got Harry back again, hang out. Tonight we're talking about hackers, since when we tried to podcast and do our weekly Walking Dead review 2 weeks ago, the hacker had a little bit of fun with us.
Right.
As always, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Dirty Shore UG. Rob, your information.
Oh, well, first of all, DirtyShoreUnderground.com. That's where you can find all the new episodes every Thursday, bonus episodes whenever. Follow Dirty Shore UG on Twitter and Facebook so that you get links to the live stream. You can find the live stream on youtube.com/c/Dirty Shore UG-OTA. Come in, comment, join the conversation so you can be part of the show as we go on right now. You can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek, with robertncheek.com being your home for everything that has to do with me. The podcast, the blogs, the you can find links to my books, everything's on there. So.
Want to get any information out? People find you?
If you want to look at vape stuff, HDM5287 on Instagram, Facebook, Harrison Miller. That's all I got.
All right. So, go ahead.
Oh, man. Screwing me up by doing this to me.
So for those who don't know, I do a lot of talking on the podcast. I do a lot of talking on every podcast that I'm on. So I told Kenny today he's going to have to lead the conversation. So I don't want any dead air, and I'll pick up if I have to. But otherwise, it's going to be your show. Go ahead. Give it to us.
All right, so anyway, 2 weeks ago, we were doing our podcast. This was the night that Glenn supposedly died. Glenn's still not dead.
Hashtag Glenn's not dead.
Yes. Apparently we pissed somebody off on the West Coast because they decided to hit us with a DOS attack multiple times. They called us a few times, sent pizza to us, didn't pay for it for us.
What was that? Okay.
Um,
Karina's also here, just so everybody knows. And check out the messages for feelings on that. Anyway.
So, yeah, funny thing is, I think the reason I thought about this podcast tonight is because the other day I took a trip back in time, 1995, the movie Hackers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it is, a lot of kids are just now seeing this movie. So they think they can become hackers, and then all they really learn is the DOS attacks.
Well, and the DOS attacks are the easiest kind of attacks.
Yeah.
It's all about just going out and mirroring a bunch of different computers to the same website. So, but do you know what a DOS attack is, by the way?
Denial of service.
And how does one do a denial of service attack?
Pretty much you ping one server over and over until you get too many requests, and that shuts down the server, overflows it, and that server can't really think.
Yeah, so for people who don't know anything about computers, we've advanced a little bit, but for the most part, when you picture that old lady sitting at a board with the different plugs that she puts in, that's still kind of how things work. Now, for most servers, it can have more than one computer communicating with it at any one time. So you might think of like a block of them as being every individual server, even the one that you have, or a modem, or anything else. The internet works because computers talk back and forth to each other, and sometimes it's just about giving instructions on where to find information, but nonetheless, so a DOS attack is, a DDoS attack, depending on who you ask, is where you get more than one computer to basically dial the address of a modem. And picturing that old lady at the board, she's plugging in a bunch of plugs. When all of the plugs fill up for that thing, and there are more people trying to get in, she basically unplugs them all to let everything cool down for a minute, and then allows connections to start coming in again. So, when you see like Bel Air 55105, bloop, 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 bloop. A DOS attack just basically means all those plugs are full, and the modem says, there's got to be something wrong here. This is not normal, nor is it within my capacity. So I'm going to shut down, reboot, and see if it was a problem on the outside or a problem on the inside. So people have learned that if you do that, it can shut down a person's modem, it can shut down a whole server, it can shut down a server farm if you know what you're doing and you can get enough computers. So unfortunately, that is what happened to us the other week. Somebody figured out, and it's relatively easy to do. You slave a machine somewhere else to do what you want them to do, and it doesn't take that much. The amount of people who don't know anything about computers boggles the mind, and they don't have passwords on their Wi-Fi. They don't have or their passwords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or password. And so when you know that you can put together a list of like 300 attempts, and then you just ping the server with this list of passwords until one clicks in, and now you're in and you have control of it. So it's not that hard. Anybody can do it if you know what you're doing, basically. So some 15-year-old kid who has nothing but time on their hands, this is what they can do. So
all because Glenn's not dead.
All because Glenn's not dead. Or because, this podcast is insanely popular, and it was on the top list of, if you put in hashtag The Walking Dead at 10 p.m. on Sunday night, we were in the front list.
Were we?
Yeah. So
cool.
It might have been just people who were going down, who were just going down to down the list and checking out stuff, and just happened to take an interest because we also said whatever we said. But people don't have too much goddamn time on their hands. That's the problem. So
not to mention the fact that he had you get on Skype with him, and then he had the picture of Anonymous.
Yeah, and the name was Anonymous. So yeah. So if anyone from Anonymous is watching, in fact, I should let a couple of my friends know who work with Anonymous who this guy is, and let him know that he's acting under their name, because my understanding is they don't take that too well.
No,
so,
they don't.
Yeah.
Did you see the story about Anonymous releasing like 1,000 names of people that are supposedly in the KKK?
Yeah, it's Op KKK, and basically they are public figures who are on either side of the Black Lives Matter movement. They're just releasing names to say, oh, this guy looks like he's for the Black Lives Matter movement, but he's a registered member of the KKK. Or this guy who's like, listen, it's not about race, it's about heritage. No, you're in the KKK. It's about more than that. So
we have the dumb hackers, and then we have hackers like Anonymous who are kind of trying to fight the government at this point in time. So
well, like I say, the best story I've heard over the past couple months is that somebody broke into the not student loans, it was housing loans, and basically erased all of the scanned physical paper copies of all of these mortgage documents. Now the problem is, if you've ever had a house get foreclosed on, or if you've ever been part of that, they have to be able to show a chain of ownership from when you signed the original document. And sometimes these banks are 3 or 4 banks deep. They bought it from somebody who bought it from somebody who bought it from somebody. So if you erase those documents and the person takes it to trial, they can't show your signature on a piece of paper. That piece of paper hasn't existed in a decade. It's been shredded a long time ago. And you get to keep your house, and there's no mortgage on it. So my guess is it was somebody with some skills who had a family member who was in trouble, and instead they couldn't delete one record because that would be very obvious who it is. So they had deleted like 10,000 records, and all of these people will be able to stay in their houses as long as they challenge it in court and they go forward. So there's a lot of good that's done, stuff like that. Op KKK may not be that may not be good in the eyes of some, because the problem is that the Anonymous is using old records. So somebody who Strom Thurmond was in the KKK actively in 1948, but by 1998 was a senator who was all about equality and trying to, make society a little more free, and his name would have been on that list. Even though he's not an active member, they just happen to have his records. So it's a mixed bag.
I'm still wondering if that one video that went to Tech 9 was actually anonymous or not. Remember the one I showed you?
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, most people are not stupid enough to try to act in Anonymous's name, because they will find out who you are and fuck your life up. So, and they get these operations down, and they just start attacking everything about your life. They can ruin your credit, they can sell your house, a whole bunch of stuff. So.
Let's see. What else we got? Have you seen the movie Hackers?
I probably saw it I remember seeing it, and I remember it's Hollywood's take on how hacking works, which is I can sit down at a computer and break a 1028-bit code, which, by the way, it's not as simple as grabbing your laptop and typing stuff out. It reminds me a lot about Independence Day, where they hacked an alien ship using an IBM laptop that had less computing power than my phone does now. But somehow they hacked an alien ship. So
that was, I think that was one of Angelina Jolie's first movies.
Gia, I think, came before that. If nobody's seen Gia, you should. Well, guys, you should 100% see Gia. It's fantastic. Anyway, a little bit of nudity, a little bit of girl on girl, top notch. So,
she must not be paying attention now.
Hopefully not.
I heard him.
But so I'm telling you, Hackers. What goes on in the movie Hackers?
Movie starts out. Boy ends up getting.
Spoiler alert for Hackers if you haven't seen it. It's 20 years old. You should see it by
now. Cops break into his place, and he ends up going to court, and he's not allowed to touch computers or anything until he's 18. I think he hacked into a bank system or something like that, or shut down a bunch of banks or something like that. I can't really remember. But then they moved to New York right around the time he was turning 18, I think. I can't. But he ends up getting in with this hacker group, which, one of them was Angelina Jolie. And
who's way hotter than any female hacker that's actually alive, by the way. Hot girls don't have to be good hackers because they get guys to do that shit for them. So.
And then the one boy that was in Scream.
Oh shit, what is his name?
Played Shaggy.
He also played Shaggy, yeah. Sean William Scott, no, that's the other guy.
13 Ghosts.
He's in a lot of stuff, but yeah, he's that guy, if you ever seen him.
The tall, lanky dude.
Awkward looking fella, yeah.
I'm not sure who the other people were.
Giovanni Ribisi is one of them. He is the brother of Phoebe from Friends, and he's in a bunch of other stuff too. That's the only guy I know out of it. I love his name, so I always... Giovanni Ribisi.
But the whole plot to the story, you got the group of hackers. They break into this Gibson computer. Well, one of them does. He was like a newbie hacker. And he ended up finding some stuff in the trash file, which was a worm that was taking money and transferring it to another account. And the guy that worked for the company was also a hacker. And he used that fact to blame the hackers for him to get away with it. And then they end up having a bunch of people helping him out. And in the end, they got the guy, and he thought he was getting away, and the cops arrested him on the plane, so...
And I think that the first part of the plot is a lot like Swordfish, which is Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry. Also a fantastic movie with Halle Berry. 100% see it, guys.
That one I have seen.
Yeah, but where the punishment is, you're not in jail, but you just can't touch a computer. So he's living off in the middle of nowhere where there's no computer access. So, but Hackers, it was the first movie that kind of got people in that this is happening, this is part of the world mentality.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what a lot of kids see it now, because it airs on TV quite frequently.
Right.
And it's on Netflix right now. Everybody has Netflix, so I think kid sees it. Kid starts Googling how to hack stuff, and before you know it, you're screwing up somebody's internet connection. Like us.
And I was going to say, I don't know that there's anything personal. I just think it was a bored kid who had access. And I think it's also, I think it's also part about everything. It's a sign that everything is digital now. Because phone lines, there's no more real home phones. It's all voice over internet. Mm-hmm. And you can have access to everything. Shit, what was the Die Hard movie? Was it Live Free Die Hard with Sean? Shit, what's his name? Anyway, where Bruce Willis and they're taking the hackers take down everything. Mm-hmm. Like that's a good movie to show about how everything's interconnected now. So like, if you have any bit of information about anybody, it's easy to find a lot of information about them. So that's what I was laughing at before. Get all kinds here in the chat.
Never ceases to fail, does it?
Of course. Anyway, go ahead.
Trying to think if there was any other good movies based around hacking. You know any?
Well, so have you had any? What's that?
That's what I'm trying to think.
Have you had any personal hacking experiences other than the one that we had a couple days ago?
Just simple bullshit like kicking people out of Yahoo chats and off their Yahoo messengers.
And how'd you do that?
I don't even remember. I had a program that did it for me.
So you just plug it in, boots them out?
Yep.
That's how I met girls. I wasn't trying to boot anybody out of the chat rooms. Tell my age a little bit. Yahoo chat, AOL chat, God, actual like forums, message boards where it was almost like a chat where you would just go back and forth down. So that was crazy, but
the old MSN chat rooms.
Yeah.
There is one, like, it's not really a hacking experience like being the victim of it, but just playing around, because I played on PC for a lot of my gaming, and it's a lot more open rather than console.
Right, yeah.
So, like, some of our friends were in school for computing and all that stuff, and they would just write up these simple programs in like in a system file. I forget exactly what it was, but pretty much you click it and something will happen. It's just a set amount of commands that will run automatically. One would melt your screen, another one would just kill your entire desktop where you only see wallpaper, just simple stuff like that. And then you have like the stuff that you can get on the internet, just the bullshit stuff like the Trojan horses, which just load up your hard drive and make it slow as hell, visiting sketchy porn sites and shit like that.
Right, yeah.
But there was one thing, and it's not really per se hacking, but it's more of like manipulation, but on a lot of your free to play games that you can get online.
Freemium games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was one thing, there's a program called TeamViewer, and it's a peer-to-peer connection where you can get an ID, and if, say that like I wanted to control your computer from my computer at home, I would ask you, what's your ID? And then I would type it in, and then I would ask for the password from you again, enter it in, and then you would give me a connection straight to your desktop where I could mess with it. It's basically me controlling your mouse from another place.
But it's meant to do help. It's meant to be like help. Try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, you can get a personal license or a commercial license, and it's more of a troubleshooting kind of thing. But the thing is, a lot of these freemiums, a lot of people, that community would actually say, hey, I think you're a hacker, so I want to team view you so I can see what you have on your desktop.
Right.
To see, it's like it's like, here, let me see what's running under the hood to make sure you're clean. But the thing is, you have these 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds where it gets manipulative. This 20-year-old or 30, 40, however, whatever age, gets on their computer, says, hey, download this so that way I can check you. And they're just like, okay. And they download it, and all of a sudden they're deleting the System 32, the computer's completely done.
Yeah.
And you could call it hacking, could call it manipulation, walking through it. But that's really the only kind of hardest thing I've ever seen or experience. And there's other stuff that's out there, like the worms.
Now, I was going to say, I don't really count that as hacking because it's stupid people. It's like the person who gets the email from the Nigerian prince and sends the banking information to him, so...
However you want to see it, I mean, it's across a digital medium.
Yeah. And so, I was trying to think. I had an example of well, I mean, TeamViewer was always one where if I was on somebody's computer, I could connect to my own home computer.
That's what I would do.
And then go back to my house, and that would give you access all the time. And people keep weird shit on their computer. Here's what I'll tell you. Don't keep stuff you don't want other people to see on a computer that's connected to the internet. That's basically rule number one. Because otherwise problems can result. So, but we always used, shoot, there was another program that did that too. Oh, that's what I was talking about. I was going to talk about the first internet worm. So the first internet worm was actually a accident, and the guy did 10 years in jail for it. Not that time, but the second time he did it because he's a dumbass. But he basically made a program that was self-replicating. So he sent it out to a computer, it would replicate twice and send itself out to 2 other computers. And the internet was only a couple hundred computers at the time. And the problem, well, the thing he figured out was when it replicated in your computer, it left a bit of code there that gave him access to the computer. And thus we got the idea of a Trojan horse, something that you can get on a computer that then gives you access into that one. And he went to jail the second time because he figured that out and then wanted to test a theory about whether he could slave other computers to his. Turned out he could. Got arrested. And they said, listen, the first time there was no law that would keep you from doing this, so we couldn't arrest you. Now we have one. So 10 years in prison. Yeah. But, in fact, most systems now still have remnants of that original worm on it because it's so deeply embedded in some of the server space that old websites that are still up have infected new websites and infect new computers, and apparently it's like a state secret that this guy, he can never tell anybody what the code looks like or how to access it, so or else he'll get in some trouble. So
and he ain't gonna be dumb enough to do it a 3rd time.
He also got hired by the government, so that always helps, is if they're paying you, it's easy to keep a secret. So
I remember, back in like 2000, 2001 maybe. Not really anything hacker-wise, but there was like a joke program that you could send to somebody. It made it look like it was giving them a virus and wiping everything from the computer. And then it would flash out black and come back with a smiley face on it. And it was like, got you. I used to send that to my friends and shit, and they would have their webcams on. I'll just sit there and watch them, and they're just like...
Yeah.
No! And at the end of it, they're like, you're a fucking asshole.
Well, that's the new thing is that FBI warning, right? That the FBI's frozen your computer, send $500 to the thing, and it's actually easier to get off than people think. But again, people freak out and they're like, "Okay, I'll send you the $500 to unlock my computer." And also, I think it's telling about what kind of shit people are looking at on the internet because they're freaking out about what might be in their history or what might be on the computer. So,
my uncle ended up with one like that. Had the camera was on and frozen, so when I was looking at him, and it said something about child pornography or something like that, and to get rid of it, that you had to pay a bunch of money.
Yeah.
First thing he did was call me. He's like, "Dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on with the computer. I don't know what the kids have been clicking on Facebook or anything else. Can you come fix it?" I was over there for about 2 hours. I had to try to figure out how to get his shit into safe mode because he used a different type of internet, or had a different computer than I did, so better. So yeah, it took me about 2 hours to get it right.
Yeah. Wait, so any other, I mean, here's the problem, is the question is how do you define what a hacker is? Because somebody who takes over your computer using a TeamViewer, it's kind of a hacker, but you're dumb enough to give them access.
That's true.
And then there are people who are shutting down government websites, or cyber warfare between states that's doing the same thing, or cyber terrorism, that kind of stuff. I mean, theoretically, what happened to us was cyber terrorism, because it's a guy just trying to create fear using the internet as a weapon. So, and honestly, if you're watching, if you're going to order pizza, just fucking pay for it next time. That's
Yeah.
the best part, is that
Mhm.
pizza shows up, doesn't bother us, and we get to eat pizza. So, yeah, that's always good.
Sad thing, it wasn't even pizza. It was like sandwiches and shit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Even better.
It was 3 sandwiches, 2 things of crazy bread, and something else, or cheesy bread.
Well, still, I would still eat it, and it's still free. But you just have to pay for it next time, bro. Come on.
Mhm.
So, what do you think about Anonymous as a whole?
It's a bunch of misguided kids, if you ask me. I mean, I know there's adults, but there is so much good stuff that they could be doing, and they're too focused on issues that are too big for them. Like, everybody has this idea that they're looking, they want to look up, and you want to see what's going on above you, and then kind of take that on. But at the level that they're at, there's a lot going on below them. Like, listen, forget about breaking into houses. How about getting into Sally Mae and just erasing the student loan debt? That would be fucking fantastic for me and for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Like, the signed documents don't exist for my student loans anymore. But I got to keep paying because the records are still there. Just go in and delete all the records. Show it as paid. I don't give a shit. Doesn't matter. But do some good in the world, instead of just playing around. I mean, they do good stuff. Operation KKK, fantastic. Operation John Crawford, fantastic. All of these. I mean, there was the suicide or the murder of the girl in Canada that the police were like, we have no leads, we can't solve it. And Anonymous solved it in 15 hours. Like, there's a lot of good stuff they can do, but they just don't. I mean, it's so much of like wanting to do pinpricks at this bigger machinery when you could completely obliterate a problem that's below you. And I don't know if it's a fear thing that makes them that way, but for whatever reason, they don't want to take on the big issues, and they really should. Like I said, Sally Mae servers, I'm sure, are ass weak. Just get in there, delete everything, leave a picture of Brad Pitt standing, with a spray paint on him, and says, "Have a nice day." That's what I would like to leave in the Sally Mae server. FBI, if you're listening, I'm not advocating for anything. I'm just saying that would be nice, and it would make my life a lot easier. So,
It'd be nice if my debt was erased too.
I mean, that's the thing is that Fight Club had this idea
Wait,
of.
is your student loan through that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Mine's through Moella.
Well, all of them are secured by the government, so it all goes back to Sally Mae in the end. Sally Mae is the pseudo-governmental agency that handles student loans. But, so Fight Club, which I think is a hacker movie before there was really hacker movies, because it's about hacking the whole system. Mm-hmm. And in the time between, 91 when he wrote the book, and 95, 96 when Hackers came out, we saw that shift that, like, if you're going to do things, you don't need the beat to be there in the real world. You can be there, only digitally. So, but Fight Club was all about the credit card companies and eliminating credit card debt by eliminating the servers where the debt lies. Now, today that wouldn't work as well because information stored all over the world. But I had a buddy of mine tell me that it would be, it's beyond his capabilities, but it would be comprehensible that you go into Bank of America and delete the file list and like delete the directions. And then if they go in to look for your name, they have it in one of their 11,000 servers somewhere in the world, but they have no way to direct the computer on how to find it. Which is, for us, just as good as not having the debt at all. Because you come after me and then you can't find the original documents again. It leaves you at a loss. Now, Tyler Durden was doing that by blowing up the servers. Can't do that. But Anonymous could do it. The question is, why aren't they? And, for those super paranoid people, they'll say that Anonymous isn't really anonymous. It's the government who is doing little things to make it look like that Anonymous is doing big things. And it's all a cat and mouse game and cloak and dagger and who knows. So
You just want to get to the story. She
Uh.
wants to get to the story. We can get to the story.
Before we get to the story, good news for everybody who is using Uber in Greater Maryland, because Matt, friend of the show, Matt, who is also an Uber driver, and I got an email today that showed that the rates are actually going down in Easton and in Greater Maryland. I say Easton because I drive here. So, but the base fare of old Uber was $276. Of new Uber is $150. The mileage dropped. The price per mile dropped by 40 cents. The price per minute dropped by 4 cents. Overall, that just means that you're going to get a much cheaper ride, and so that means that it should really be an option. I know of 4 people, and I'm sure there's hundreds more, who actually got a DUI on Halloween. It's a really stupid thing to do, because all you got to do is open up the app, get.uber.com, download the app onto your phone, sign up with an email address and with a credit card, and you can have a driver that comes right to your door. Uber is everyone's private driver, and they should really take advantage of it. So, and also with the drop in fares, we know that there's going to be an increase in ridership, which means we need more drivers. So if you want to drive, send me an email at uberwithrob@gmail.com. I'll send you an invitation where you can join. I made $300 in 30 hours over Halloween weekend, and I actually got a bonus of $100 for having the most hours for the weekend. So $400 in 30 hours by sitting in my car. The times that I wasn't driving, I was just doing stuff I'd do at home. If you're sitting on your ass and playing video games or watching TV, there's no reason why you can't do both of those things in your car and make some money when it comes along. So send me a message to uberwithrob@gmail.com and download the app for yourself. Get.uber.com and just let them know Rob sent you. So Uber is everyone's private driver. One more thing before we get into it is I gotta highly recommend people. We have the holidays coming up. Everybody's shopping to get your holiday gifts. Before you go anywhere on Amazon, because everybody's buying everything online now, go to the website dirtyshoreunderground.com. On the front page and on each and every podcast page, you're going to see a link to shop with Amazon. Click on that link through the banner before you start shopping. It doesn't increase your prices at all. It's the same Amazon experience that you have, but it supports the show because Amazon wants to know where their people are coming. UnderGround.com. Click through the banner to go to Amazon before you start anything else, and that'll help out the show, and it'll help us get new equipment. It'll help us get everything to make this show better for you, and one day quit our jobs and do this 5 days a week. Wouldn't that be awesome? So, now, that being said, advertisements being done. Another thing that we wanted to go through today is a story that I told them last week. So why don't you tell them about your reactions before we jump into this?
Well, she had the better reaction. We were sitting outside after we were doing the podcast where we got hacked. Rob started telling us the story. Karina started getting freaked out. He left. We came back upstairs. We got to knock on the door, which ended up being the pizza person. But we didn't know that because there was no sign on the car or nothing. So we just stood here and messaged Rob and was like, somebody's here.
And I came back because I am a gentleman like that. Of course.
It was really weird, but this story is in his book coming out next year.
Yep. Look for The Calls by me, available on Amazon next year. So we don't know when yet. I have the sequel to The Movement coming out first. That'll probably be in the first quarter, hoping that The Calls will be the second quarter. And the book I'm writing right now, The Expert, will be third quarter. I'm hoping to get 4 books in a year next year. So we'll see how that works out. I'm also about to start on a nonfiction book, not to get off topic, but about a riot that happened right here in 1997 when a kid was 91 or 81 was here when a kid was not convicted of murder. He was acquitted, and there was race riots all around Denton. Followed up by 97 when a kid got arrested. Some police brutality happened right outside your door out here, and this place rioted, and the whole town rioted for a week. And it's like, shit, I didn't even know about my hometown actually happened. So I'm really excited to get to work on that. But The Calls is done. It's just waiting to be edited and be moved on. So go ahead.
Yeah, so keep in mind, this isn't the whole story. It's not the whole story. Obviously, if we told you every bit of the story, you wouldn't want to buy the book.
Right. And it's a fictionalized account, so I mean, the story that you're going to read is based on a true story. The story that you're going to hear now is actually, everything that I'm going to tell you is actually true and actually happened. But the fictionalized version obviously takes some liberties with some different parts. But yeah, the one thing is, before I tell the story, I really need Karina to ask me to tell the story. I don't even think I can even start until she asks me to tell the story. And not digitally. I see that she wants me to tell the story. If you make sure you go to dirtyshoreunderground.com, youtube.com/C/dirtyshoreug-OTA. You can join us on the live stream. Karina is actually watching the live stream right now and making comments. You can join the conversation and comment too. Make sure you follow Dirty Shore UG on Twitter and Facebook so you get the link out whenever we are live. Usually it's in the evenings on Thursdays and Sunday or Monday. But if you follow them, you'll always be able to find the live stream because we'll tweet it out. But before I get started, I really got to have Karina ask me to tell the story.
You said you wanted to hear a story on the show.
Can't be digitally. It's got to be. I got to hear a voice invitation. Make sure you cut all this out, by the way. It's got to be a voice request. I have to hear you ask me to tell the story.
Maybe if we just keep staring at her.
All right, well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining us. This has been great. Apparently, Karina doesn't want to hear the story, so I'm going to go home and get some sleep because I got court in the morning. So, no?
Just ask. Why are you all of a sudden not wanting to talk?
Not my podcast.
She didn't want to talk to me.
Oh, you're mad at Rob? Is that what it is? She texted you and asked.
No. Apparently Lauren and I can't remember who's in the car with her. Miranda, maybe? Carla. I can't take a call. I'm actually doing the podcast right now. I think a couple of her kids are in the car with her too. They're on the ride back from somewhere. So apparently they're watching. So
cool. Hello.
Thanks everybody. Lauren's kids are probably our biggest fans of the You're the Anthem podcast. I have a special gift for you guys, by the way. I have to remember to get it for you this week. So, all this is going to get cut out because all we need is to have somebody ask me to tell the story, and I'll tell the story.
Come on.
Why do I have to ask?
'Cause
It's
you
not my podcast.
Katie,
ask?
Carla, and Olivia. I don't know why I couldn't remember your names. My fault. Katie, Carla, and Olivia are her kids who love the show. So, and they're getting really pissed off. I think our viewership is getting really mad because they want to hear the story. All you gotta do is just say, "Hey, Rob, tell the story."
Just tell the damn story.
I need you to look at me and direct it to me.
Tell the story!
Hey, she talked to me. It's amazing. All right, so we can dive right into the story. I'm going to start out by saying this is an absolutely 100% true story. It happened to me. I lived it. When we're talking about the difference between hacking online and hacking in real life with Fight Club and otherwise, this is kind of a story that crosses both. So I am super ready. Lauren says, please tell him to tell the story because everybody's dying. So, all right. So here's the story that will become the calls. The fourth year of my college experience, I was taking upper level classes at Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York. That's where I did all my undergraduate work and the first part of law school. So, my very first day on the very first class, there was this kid sitting 2 seats back from me. His name was Justin, and I'd never seen him before. And it's weird for an upper level class because usually these are the people that I saw in Poli-Sci 101, 102, 201, 202, all the way up. And now we're in a class of 8 people. So it's weird that in this class of like 8 to 10 people, there's a new kid that nobody knew. And according to him, he'd been at Hofstra for 3 years. I just hadn't seen him, and he was going into his sophomore year. So it was really weird, but we hit it off a lot. First week we didn't really talk, but after that, he started backing me up on some of my stuff that I was talking about in class, and found out that we had a lot in common, so we started hanging out pretty regularly. And he found out that I really wanted to run for office. And my plan after senior year was to backpack with my friends across Europe. We were going to fly into Romania and then have a ticket waiting for us at Heathrow and just backpack for 3 months across the whole continent with whatever money we had in our pockets, and that's it. Get our Euro pass, Euro rail pass, and just kind of get it done. So, and he had this bright idea that, there's an election coming up, and instead you should go home and run for office. And I didn't want to do that, but over the course of that first few weeks of fall semester, I don't know what it was. Something about him, he convinced me that that's what I was going to do. So I canceled the trip, and I said, hey, yeah, I'm going to go home and run for office. And so the story really starts about the week after I made that decision, after I told my roommates I wasn't going on the trip and all that. That's kind of where the story really kicks off. So I was coming back late at night, back to my dorm. I went into my dorm room and I had something in my hands, can't remember what, but I had something in my hands. And I shut the door behind me and I couldn't get the light switch on. So I went over and dumped whatever I had, maybe it was my backpack or whatever, I dumped it on the bed. And my phone started ringing while I was crossing the room. And at that time, I had an old Motorola Q. For those people who don't remember it, it was like one of the world's very first smartphones. It had internet access and a data plan, which thank God, because that keeps me in Verizon's grandfather data plan now. And I had Hail to the Chief as my ringtone because I am an asshole and I wanted to be president, and whenever anybody called me, they got to hear Hail to the Chief. So there's that. So I'm walking through this dark room and it's and I'm like dumping my stuff and I'm trying to get in my pocket, and I look at the front dial and it says 00000000000. And so weird, it's all zero numbers, but I pick it up. And this voice on the other end is telling me that it's a voice to typing protocol where, and what I found out later is deaf people use it so that they can type, the person reads it to the phone caller, that person responds, and then the operator types it out to the deaf person. So it's a service that a lot of phone companies use. And what I'll find out later is that it's always a local service. It's local to wherever you are. So I pick up the phone, and the voice on the other end explains what it is, and I tell them I understand. And then so they say, and the call will begin now. And the first thing that this caller tells me is, don't turn on the lights. They're watching you. And I said, who's watching me? There are 3 men outside, and they're watching you. And as soon as you turn on the light, they're going to know that you're there, and they're going to come in. And I said, yeah, okay. And my mind immediately goes to it's one of my friends playing a prank on me one way or another. So I talked to them for just a couple minutes, and they're telling me about how important it is that these people can't contact me and I should be very careful and blah, blah, blah. So whatever. Hang up the phone, turn on the light, and as soon as I turn on the light, call phone rings again. So I pick up the phone again, 00000000000. It's a different operator. I tell them, yes, I know how to use the service. The call will begin now. Go over and look out your window. Now I had like mid-length windows. They went from ceiling to about mid-thigh height. Blinds were down, so I went over and I peered through the blinds. And it's literally as soon as I peered through the blinds, the voice on the other end, almost like they could see what I was seeing, said, do you see the Tahoe at the end of the line of cars there? You see how it's not fogged over like all the rest of the cars? That's because 3 men in suits just got out of that car and they're headed your way now. So you need to leave. Grab your coat, go out the door, take the stairs, not the elevator. You have 30 seconds. And I'm like, still thinking it's a joke, and I'm laughing along, but that little voice in the back of your head that's like, what if it's not a joke? Maybe this is a real thing. Maybe we should do something. And I'm like laughing at myself. I'm embarrassed that I'm by myself in my room, but I'm a little freaked out about it. So I hang up the phone, grab my coat. I figure I'm going to go bust Justin because he obviously is the one who's behind this. I'm going to go bust him and tell him, like, you didn't get me. I knew it was you the whole time. So I go out and I go hit the button on the elevator, but I get like a little paranoid and I'm like, what would it hurt? So I back up, I go down the stairs, out into the cold air, cross campus, and get into Justin's dorm. He always left his dorm unlocked, which I thought was weird. Just people could walk in whenever they wanted. But so like I get prepared and like I bust in. I'm like ha! And him and his girlfriend are sitting on the couch, cuddling up, watching a movie. He jumps out of his skin. He's like, "What the fuck, man? What are you doing? You're an asshole!" And so like I start looking around for his computer, and I'm like, obviously I knew this thing happened. I explained to him the calls I got, and I said, I know that was you. And he's looking at me like I got two heads. And his girlfriend's like, "We've been here all night. I haven't. Obviously, he's not been doing this. Like, I don't give a shit. I'd tell you if he did. I like blowing up his jokes." And he's like, "Yeah, my laptop's even in the room. Like, I haven't even had it out." So I'm a little freaked out at this point. It wasn't Justin. So I think, well, maybe it's my other friend Joyce. She's also one who likes practical jokes. So back out into the cold, back across campus, go to Joyce's room. She's not there. And when I realize she's not there, I'm like, see, I knew it was her. So I go and I realize maybe she's at the RA's office. She's an RA, that's where she hangs out. So I go there, she's sitting there. I explain this whole thing to her. And she's like, "Well, it obviously wasn't me. I was here all night." And the kid who's with her is like, "Yeah, we've been just sitting here." But he's got this like guilty look on his face, and I think maybe he's covering for her. So I like start to grill him a little bit about it. But he says, "No, I know what you're talking about. We use it to prank people all the time." So he shows me a couple of different websites. I give him my number on 3 or 4 different websites. He types it in. They call me. Every time the number pops up with a 606 or a 516 number, which are both local Suffolk and Nassau County, New York numbers. Every single time it has a number. It's not all zeros. That weirds me out a little bit because I point out that the numbers I'm getting calls from are 000. I also realized after he calls me that the numbers don't show up in my call history. I can't go back and call the number. Even if I could, I can't even press it to try and call it because as soon as the call's done, it's gone out of my call history. So I'm a little freaked out, but I'm like, I still think somebody's playing a joke on me. It's now really late, and I got class in the morning, so I trudge back across campus to my dorm, come up the elevator, get off the elevator. I go to key into my room, and I hear the door at the end of the hall like click and open, and I see a pair of eyeballs looking out at me, and it's this girl Beth who lives down the hall. So she sees it's me and like pulls the door open, and her and Anna, her roommate, come out in the hallway, and they're just like, oh my god, what did you do?" And I'm like, "What did I do? I didn't do anything." And she's like, "So right after you left, these 3 guys in black suits come up and start knocking on your door. And when you don't answer, they start banging on your door. And when you don't answer, then they start knocking on everybody else's door, asking who knows you, if they know where you went." And everybody was really freaked out. And I was just like, that's really fucking weird. And I don't even know what to say about that. But she's like, "I don't know what you did, but you're in definite trouble. They said everybody they're coming back tomorrow, and that they want to find out where you are." So I'm really freaked out. I don't want to sleep at my place, obviously, so I leave. I go back to Joyce's, and she lets me crash there. So flash forward to, as the semester goes by, I'm getting a lot of these calls, and these calls have one single solitary purpose, and that's, this Justin kid is bad news, and you need to stay away from him. On one occasion, they asked me to ask him what his social security number was. So I worked it into a conversation. I'm on the phone with them, and typing to him, and it's literally, they read it as it pops up on the screen. And it matches completely, and they tell me that that social security number didn't exist 3 years ago. Just came out of nowhere. Now it's assigned to this person who didn't exist 3 years before. On another occasion, they asked me to ask him what high school he went to. So I asked him, and he tells me, and they give me a website, and I pop up, and it's the high school, and it's the town that he says he lives in and everything, but none of the stuff can be clicked on. And when I finally right-click on one part of it, it turns out it's one big JPEG image. It's not, you can't interact with it. It just looks like it can be interacted with, but it can't be. So if you didn't really investigate, you would think it's a legitimate website. So, obviously I'm a little wary about hanging out with him, but I have no idea who these calls are coming from at all. So, finally, as we're getting near to winter break, I say, I'm tired of doing this stuff on the phone. I get a call, pick it up, it's all zeros. I tell them, I'm sick and tired of doing this. I really want to meet in person, because I don't know what's going on with these calls, but I don't trust them. But I know Justin, and I trust him. So they tell me they want to meet at a hotel in Manhattan. It's about an hour away, and they give me about an hour to get there. So I'm rushing around. I get my shoes on. I rush out the door into the car. As I'm pulling off campus, who should step out in front of my car but Justin? So Justin steps out there and just comes over, opens the door, gets in. He says, I don't know where you're going, but I'm coming with you. I'm bored. I got nothing to do. And I tell him I can't take him. The one rule they gave me was do not bring Justin. And Justin shows up out of nowhere and hops in the car. So we go down to the hotel. I'm sitting where I'm supposed to be sitting. Second floor balcony on the brown couch. I'm facing away from the front door. He goes down into the bar that's on the lower lobby level. So I get a call. Pick it up. It's them. And the only thing that, it's not an operator this time. Every single time that they called, they would say, hi, this is operator number 6752. This is a teletype service. Have you ever used this service before? Every single time. This time when I pick it up, it's a different voice. It's a male's voice. And they say, we told you to come alone. And I say, I am alone. And they say, we know Justin's in the bar. By the way, nice jacket. And I happen to be wearing a black leather jacket. So I realize when I hear him say, like kind of snarkily, nice leather jacket, that I'm not only hearing it out of my left ear where the phone is, but I'm also hearing it slightly delayed out of my right ear, which means that they're in the room with me and the sound's just bouncing off the marbles. So I turn around, and as I do, I see a guy with putting on a fedora who's in a black trench coat heading out the roundabout door. So as soon as I see him, phone clicks off, and I see the person put their cap on with one hand and stick a phone down in their pocket, and I'm like, holy shit, this is the guy. So it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm tearing ass through this lobby, and I get out the door about 15 seconds behind him. And we go out onto a street that's absolutely deserted, and there's no one there. Like, literally, he went through the door and just disappeared. So Justin comes rushing out, and I'm like, the guy was here. He was here. I don't know where he went. So he and I went down different sides of the street, looking to see if he was hiding between cars or if he ducked in a doorway. Nothing. Just gone. So I didn't get any calls for a little while. And we started making plans for the spring. Justin came down and stayed with me for Easter, and then I went up and stayed with him for Passover. And we had this plan, and it was going to happen. And then a couple weeks before Easter, he shows up on my doorstep, and he's like, hey, you want to take a ride with me today? And I'm like, I guess. Where do we need to go? Cincinnati. Now, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're in Hempstead, Long Island, New York, and he wants to go to Cincinnati. And I'm like, I guess. I got nothing else to do. So I pack a bag real quick, jump in the car, we're gone. He gives me an Adderall. Statute of limitations is passed, so I don't care about telling you that. Stayed up all night, driving straight through. And he tells me on the way that something's happening with his mom, and he needs to go visit his mom. So we get to Cincinnati about, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. He gives me the nickel tour, like, here's the place I grew up, here's the school I went to, my mom's been in this house forever, here's the Eagle Tavern, my local bar. It's at the base of the hill leading up to my neighborhood, so had my first drink here, everybody loves me here. So, go up the hill to his mom's house, she says hi, introduces us. In the front entryway is this huge map of the eastern shore of Maryland. And I'm sitting and staring at the map, and she comes over and she's like, oh, this is a place called Delmarva, and I write books about women's rights issues and slave issues in Delmarva. I'm like, I fucking know this is Delmarva. I grew up right here. And she's like, oh, yeah, I write books about Easton and Cambridge. And I'm like, I grew up literally in those towns. That's insane. So I walk over to the bookshelf, and she's got an entire row of the bookshelf that has her name on the cover. And I go to grab one of the books, and then Justin comes in and says, hey, man, maybe we should just get some sleep. So, rushes me off to sleep. I sleep most of the day. He gets up, he takes me around. That night, we go to the Eagle Tavern, and everybody knows who he is. The whole place erupts when he walks in. Nobody knew he was coming. So, everybody's buying us drinks, and it's great, and then we just have to walk up the hill back to his mom's house. Don't think anything of it. It was a great weekend. Him and his mom are weird. They're a little cold to each other. It seems like they have a secret that they don't want me to know, which is weird, because he invited me to come. But nonetheless, at the end of the weekend, we just drive back to New York. So Easter comes. He comes and stays with my family. My sister's first reaction is there's something weird about this kid. There's something wrong with his eyes. He's weird. He gives me a weird vibe. My parents like him though, and he wants me to run for office, which they like, so that's good. Then I go up and visit him in Philadelphia at his dad's house, and I meet his dad, and his dad's a VP for Clear Channel, and they have this huge fucking house. He's got the new wife who's 24 years old, and they have a baby, and there's like an au pair who's in the house who takes care of the baby, and everything is super awkward in this house. And I don't know if it's just me because I didn't grow up rich, but there was like servants in the house, and like everybody just treats each other really weird. Anyway, stayed for Passover, and we did the dinner thing, and Baruch Lachem, and we do the dinner and the seat for Elijah, and I almost drink Elijah's wine, and it's like a big thing. What? Baruch Lachem? Let's get something thrown at me. Anyway, so we head back. Now we're in the home stretch to the end of the year. And suddenly Justin just disappears. For like a week. Disappears. And finally after the week's over, I haven't seen him for a week. I'm walking into my building. He comes screaming up into the no parking area, slams on his brakes, rolls down the window. He's smoking a cigarette like a fiend. He looks at me and says, "Get in." I'm like, "All right, man, where the fuck have you been?" I get in, and he throws it into reverse. He had a big green Expedition. I'll never forget that car. With cattle, with the little cattle brush guards in the front. Mm-hmm. Kid's never been out of the city, but he's got fucking brush guards on the front of his truck. Anyway, backs up, screaming out of the parking lot, and he's out on the outer road. And Hofstra has this outer road that runs around the whole campus. And he's doing 70 miles an hour on this 15-mile-an-hour road. And finally I'm like, "Yo, slow down, chill out." Slams on the brakes, turns it into a parking lot, comes to a stop, and he just sits there, fiendishly smoking this cigarette, not looking at me. And finally, he just like turns and flicks the cigarette out the window, and he turns to me and he says, "You will not believe the things that I've been through." And I'm just like, "What the fuck are you talking about, man?" And he's like, "There's so much that I want to tell you about how everything isn't what it seems, and the universe is so complex, and we get into these conversations about the galaxy and time travel, and I want to tell you all these things that I know, and I just can't tell you. And fuck, I shouldn't even be having this conversation with you. You're like the last person I should talk to." He looks like he hasn't slept or eaten or done anything but smoking cigarettes and sitting in his fucking car for a week, and I think maybe he's a little bit insane. So finally he's just like, I can't talk to you. This is totally wrong. You gotta go. Leans across me, opens the door, shoves me out into the parking lot, slams the door shut, off he goes. Disappears for another 2 days. On that second day, I roll in, I'm doing my normal thing, I'm going across the Unispan to go to class, and I see him there, and he's freshly showered, and his hair's styled, and he looks fine, and he comes up and he's got this like deep laugh. He's like, "Hey, listen, sorry man, went a little nuts the other day. Let's just pretend that didn't happen." And I'm like, "Yeah, listen, man, you were saying some weird shit." He's like, "Let's just forget everything I said. It was all gibberish. Don't worry about it." So I ended up running into Joyce later on that day, and she was like, "What the fuck did you do to Justin?" And I'm like, "I didn't do anything. Dude, like, kidnapped me. It was really weird." And she's like, "I saw him, and he was jibber-jabbering on about you and, like, a mission and how he felt bad about it, and he really liked you, and you were a nice guy." And I'm like, "I have no fucking idea, but I saw him, and he looked half dead." And she's like, "I saw him, he looked totally dead." Anyway, so that was super weird, but after that, everything was smooth sailing. And I'm getting calls, and it's the same general stuff. It's like, telling me stuff about Justin, that it's hard from him. And finally I get this call that's like, "Take our advice. We're just not going to call anymore." And I'm like, "I'm taking your advice, but I got to take it with a grain of salt because I know this guy and I don't know you. The one time we could have met, you ran away." So anyway, end of the year comes, graduation. Corey's there for graduation. The Anthem podcast. Make sure you check out that. New episodes every Tuesday. And I go home and I run for office. And I meet this girl, and things are very whirlwind. And I'm probably not giving the campaign the kind of attention that I should give it. But nonetheless, I'm running for office anyway. And Justin rolls up. I'm at the girl's house. He's never been there. But he rolls up in the driveway suddenly with no warning. And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "I'm going to New York for the weekend. I'll be back on Tuesday." I'm like, perfect. And he's like, I already got stuff all lined up, everything you need to do, the calls you need to make, all that stuff. That's all ready to go for until Tuesday, and I'll be back. And I'm like, okay, great. So he rolls out. And he then promptly falls off the face of the fucking earth. His girlfriend didn't see him. His friends in New York didn't see him. I didn't hear from him. I finally, after a week, went into his room, and everything was still there. He must have taken like a bag with him and left, but his laptop was there, his phone charger was there, all his clothes were there, all his furniture was there. It was lived in, but he just wasn't there. I just was really worried. I was like, did this kid get into an accident and on the way home and nobody's seen him anymore? So I'm calling police, I'm calling hospitals, I'm like a worried parent. And finally I'm like, I got to get in touch with his parents. So I figure I can probably reach his mom through her website. I go to her website, and everything as advertised. Woman, author, writes about the Eastern Shore. The problem is, the picture on her About Me page isn't the woman that I met. Which is weird. Name's right. Everything else is right. This is not the person I met. So that weirds me out a little bit. And the girlfriend says, well, maybe we should try to find his dad. So I searched for his dad. Found the person. Found a video of them speaking at a Clear Channel convention. And that's the name of the guy, that's his position, that's his company, everything. The guy in the video is not the guy that I met. So I'm really a little freaked out now, and I start digging more into it. I look up his mom's address. His mom's address turns out to be not somebody's home for the last 15 years, but a long-term rental property where you can rent the house if you're going to be in Cincinnati for a week or a month and you don't want to live in a hotel. The Eagle Tavern, his favorite bar, the place he got the first drink, where everybody knew him. It's an empty store space that's for rent, for either short-term or long-term rent available. And as I start clicking through this, everything I've known about him, nothing seems to make sense. Nothing he told me is true. And he has absolutely just dis-a-fucking-peared. So, I finally, he's been gone for a couple of months, and his Facebook page hasn't been updated, his MySpace page, for those who remember that, hasn't been updated, and I'm just like at wit's end about what's going on. I got sick for a while, and I wasn't able to campaign the way I wanted to, but the end of the race was coming, and finally I send a mass basically message to everyone who knows him, everyone who I think would have ever heard of him, and all of his accounts, and I say, like, I'm trying to find Justin, where is Justin? And didn't get anything back for 2 days. After 2 days, I was sitting alone with my girlfriend in the apartment, or in the house, and I hear my phone go off in the other room. So I haven't gotten a call from them in months, but I pick it up and they say that, Justin's gone and he's gone for good. And you don't have to worry about him anymore. And since he's gone, you don't need us anymore. So this will be the last call that you get from us, unless you need to contact us. And I'm like, how am I supposed to contact you? And they're like, put an X, a black X in a north-facing window, and we'll know that that's a signal, and we'll call you. And ended the phone call, and that was it.
Well, with that phone, didn't you say that was a brand new phone?
Wait. No. So, a year passes, and I'm telling everybody this crazy story. We've now moved into a different place, and we're living in a different place, and I have a different phone number, I have a different phone, everything is different about my life. Actually, it wasn't a year, it was a couple years later. Everything's been different. And I'm telling this story to people, and somebody says, well, fucking let's do it. Let's put the X in the window. And I'm like, I don't know about all that. I don't know if I'm ready. But whatever. We get drunk, and they convince me. So we put an X in the window, and we're all sitting around. I put my phone in the middle of the coffee table, and we're all just staring at it, like waiting for it to ring. And it doesn't ring. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, it's a different phone number. It's a different phone. Like, there's no... Like, I have a different ringtone. Everything about this is different. There's no way that they're gonna be able to find me. Needless to say, the only north-facing window in the whole house is separated by 10 feet to the house next door. Like, even if they had a satellite, they couldn't see that fucking X in the window. So everybody goes out to the kitchen and we start playing beer pong. And turn on some music and we're all jamming. And then in between songs, somebody hears something. And they're like, wait, shh, turn down the music. And we hear a brrr, brrr, brrr of a phone vibrating. And I hear a tone, and I don't want to believe it. But I poke my head into the living room, and in the center of the dark living room on the coffee table is my phone vibrating and playing do 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 do. Not a ringtone I had on that phone at all. There was no file for it to play, but it played that. And I was so freaked out I couldn't answer the phone. So, never answered it.
Again.
Never answered it, never found out. Karina wants me to do it at her house, so I'm going to go ahead and do that while I'm here, so that they can call the home phone and find it here. But, so, the entirety of that story is a true story. All of that actually happened to me. There are people, you can talk to my sister, you can talk to Corey, they met this person, and he no longer exists. So, that is it in a nutshell, a very short version of a very long story that's going to be fictionalized and come out next year as The Calls. So make sure you check out my Amazon authors page, Robert N. Cheek on Amazon, and when it comes out you'll be able to find it there first. So, was it as much as a payoff for the second time? Did you like the story as much the second time? If anybody's listening, let us know what you thought about the story. You can always, there's a contact page and a messenger page on dirtyshowunderground.com. You can send us messages, let us know what you thought. And make sure, buy the book. That's the best way to let me know that you like the story. So, does anybody have any questions before we get out of here? I mean, because it spawns some questions, but I know everybody here's already heard it, so.
What were some of the theories that people came up with about the story? Like explanations?
So, the story, the thing that we always had was that, the story that my buddy Ryan always pushed was that time travel had something to do with it. And that Justin was some kind of agent out of time, sent back to throw the timeline off. And that the calls were people who were trying to keep the timeline on point. Then, either Kenny or Karina, I can't remember which one. Was it Karina? Threw out the theory that I hadn't even comprehended before, that the calls were trying to throw off the timeline, and that Justin was actually there to keep me on the timeline.
It started out that Justin was there to throw you off, but when it didn't happen, because remember he said he felt bad about it.
Right, yeah.
Then they started telling you don't believe him, don't trust him.
But I don't know what the reason was for any of that, but that theory seems to make as much sense as anything else. That has something to do with the time travel. Otherwise, I mean, I can't explain how a person who didn't exist 3 years before comes into existence, has this crazy thing happen with me, and then disappear off the face of the earth.
I mean, one thing that kind of popped up in my head, hearing it the first time, I was kind of thinking it was a bunch of BS, but then hearing it the second time, I'm thinking maybe it sounds a lot like a really, really worked out social experiment. If you think of Milgram's theory in psychology of the authority and having, that the teacher who was actually the person being experimented on continue those shocks to that person, regardless if they were getting hurt by it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a really, really psyched up, over top of the edge kind of, experiment in the way. It's just kind of like a position of authority, but it's from an unknown figure.
Right.
So maybe it was something like that. Maybe it was like a long-term, just,
And, I'd done some psych experiments. I was in the psych department, so that's a valid theory, too. Why experiments on me, I don't know. I am fucking insane, so there's that.
It's the same way they do surveys, random people.
True.
There's not really a consensual basis on why.
Or maybe they gave me MK Ultra, and they were trying to mind control experiments, so who knows. Any thoughts on the second hearing of it?
No, I still enjoy it, and I'm ready for the book to come out so I can...
The book has a lot more adventure. It's built in a 3-act structure, so it's a build up and there's a big payoff. But for those of you who read it, you'll be able to compare it to this. There's some similarities. There's a lot of differences. It's fictionalized, but it tells the same story.
So when's Corey gonna make the movie?
Well, we got to get the book out first, and then sell the book to some people who want to see it as this. I think it would make a fantastic movie. I think the story just by itself is a fantastic story. So copyright Robert and Cheek,
They already have the
2006.
movie.
What movie?
Terminator.
Well, no, because Terminator, I mean, and people make that, like, when I start talking about the time travel theory, people make that a simile, that it's like, oh, well, he comes back in time. I'm like, yeah, but he makes it known that he's from the future and that he's there to try and save him, and nobody ever did that. I get the Matrix, too, that, you know, Agent Smith and the hate it, the randomness, that it's something bigger than itself, and it's just reacting in here. I don't necessarily discount that either, because
Makes sense with a phone.
I just want you
Yeah.
to know that the
It's just you
whole
can't go
time
through.
right,
that the whole time he was talking about this, my computer screen where the YouTube part was
yeah,
was
flashing.
mhm.
That's because they're out there and they're listening.
Like it kept flickering gray and then coming back to.
Is that what you were trying to show me? I wasn't seeing anything.
Weird. Well, anyway, so we're not doing that tonight.
I thought you wanted to do it while you were here.
No, because I'm not going to stay around and wait for it. So if they call me, they'll call me
While he's alone.
while I'm gone, and I won't pick it up. I told you I have to do it some night. So Kenny, for those who are listening, this is great. Pod is making a black X, but we don't. Do we know which direction is north? So you can do it, but when I leave, I'm going to leave, and if it rings while I'm alone, I'm not picking up.
So
I'm
here's
just
what
telling
we'll
you
do. When you come over Sunday and we do our review, I'll put it up. We'll put it up in the window.
Put it up beforehand and see if we get a call during the podcast.
That would be.
There we go. So make sure you tune into the live stream on Sunday night for for the Walking Dead episode 5, and we'll put it in the window. And people who didn't listen to this won't know what we're talking about, but everybody else will. So, anything else for today?
Not much.
What's your Instagram profile?
HDM5287.
And so if you check out some great videos on there from Harry. If you have any questions about vaporizers or anything that having to do with the vape culture, make sure you come to Oasis Vapor in Denton every weekend, working weekends. And you can meet him there, 6th Street in Denton, Maryland, 21629. And you can meet Harry, and he'll give you some information about some vaporizers and catch you up there. You can find me on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com, where you can stay updated for all my newest stuff, including screenplays that I'm writing, books that I'm writing, like The Calls, and the blog posts. So,
Dirty Shore UG on Facebook and Twitter. YouTube.com/C/Dirty Shore UG -OTA. And we will see you guys Sunday.
have a good week, everybody. All
It's a
right.
very tame podcast
Yeah.
this time.
Well, see, I'm trying to let him lead it, so.
Yeah.
And also no Russell, so there's that. Without having a Russell here, things can stay pretty cool. Oh,
So if your phone rings and it's hailed to the chief on Sunday, are we going to
I'm
answer it
gonna
on the air?
shit a brick. Yeah, I'll answer it on the air. Shit a fucking brick.
And then Karina freaks out when they go, we're standing outside.
No, the fuck you ain't.
We're already inside.
No, the
Calls
fuck
coming
you
from
ain't.
inside the apartment.
No, the fuck you ain't.
Ugh. Alright, well, I gotta go get some writing done. Oh, is it only 8:30 or is that clock fast?
It's only 8:30.
Yep.
God damn. Okay. Good. Well, I got time to get some shit done. But I'll smoke with me if you guys are coming down. Oh, wait. He's got a tank top on. You have a sweatshirt on. What the fuck? Are you cold?
No, she's hot. I'm cold. Well, I turned the air off
Where's your trash at?
in the kitchen. So would she at some point say she wasn't talking to you no more or something?